Velez Prime Academy trembled with panic as another student collapsed in their dormitory, frozen in apparent death, the third case of fatal paralysis syndrome this week. Krell's body lay rigid on the floor, eyes wide with terror, limbs locked in place as if gripped by an invisible force. The emergency medical team rushed in, their scales reflecting the harsh fluorescent lights as they hurriedly prepared to transport the motionless student to the medical bay. "No vital response," announced the lead medic, Dazak, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "Cerebral activity present but abnormal. Classic FPS case." Zant, Krell's roommate, stood trembling in the corner, all 6 of his limbs wrapped protectively around himself. "I tried to wake him," he whispered. "He was making these horrible choking sounds, but I couldn't do anything." The medical team loaded Krell onto a hover stretcher and raced down the corridor. Students lined the halls, their antennae drooping in collective dread. FPS had been appearing with increasing frequency over the past few months, striking seemingly at random. No one knew what caused it or how to prevent it, and the fear of suddenly becoming paralyzed haunted every student at the academy. Ellix, a final-year xenobiology student, watched the scene unfold with growing frustration. His pale blue skin prickled with stress as he glanced down at his research tablet. He'd been tracking the cases for weeks now, and something didn't add up. The pattern of deaths followed by miraculous recoveries hours later seemed too consistent to be random. There was something everyone was missing, and he was determined to find out what. Another one. The voice behind him belonged to Mira, Ellix's study partner. Her long, elegant neck swiveled to watch the medical team disappear around a corner. "That's the 12th case this semester." 13th, Ellix corrected. "And none of them actually died. They all recovered within 4 hours." "You know the theory," Mira said, her voice low. "FPS freezes the body but keeps consciousness intact. It's a living death, the ultimate torture." Ellix's 4 fingers tapped nervously on his data pad. "I know what they say, but I've been monitoring brain patterns in the recovered students. There's something unique happening during those episodes. It's not just random paralysis. The headmaster is talking about shutting down the academy if they can't figure out what's causing it," Mira said. "My parents are already pressuring me to transfer." Ellix felt a chill run through his 3 hearts. The academy was everything to him, the best xenobiology program in the Velez system, and his ticket to working with the Interspecies Medical Coalition. He couldn't let it close, not when he was so close to graduation. "I need to get into the restricted section of the medical database," he said suddenly. "There must be something there we're missing." Mira's eyes widened. "You can't. Only faculty and senior medical staff have clearance. Then I'll need to find another way." Ellix turned toward the library with determination in his stride. "This isn't just random. It can't be." The library was nearly empty, most students having returned to their dormitories after the latest FPS incident. Ellix found a quiet terminal far from the librarian's desk and began searching through the publicly available medical journals. Nothing he found matched exactly what was happening at the academy. After hours of fruitless research, he slumped back in his chair. Maybe he needed a different approach, not just medical data, but cultural information. He shifted his search to xenoanthropology and started looking for similar phenomena in other species. Just as the library announced its imminent closing, Ellix found something that made his antennae stand straight up. An article about Terran sleep disorders mentioned something called sleep paralysis, a temporary condition where humans were conscious, but unable to move while transitioning between sleep states. The description matched FPS almost perfectly. Ellix quickly downloaded the article to his personal device before the system shut down for the night. As he walked back to his dormitory, his mind raced. Could FPS be something as simple as a sleep disorder? But why would it suddenly be affecting so many Velezians? His dormitory was quiet when he entered, his roommate Traz already in sleep cycle. Ellix settled onto his resting platform and began reading the article more thoroughly. Sleep paralysis in humans was frightening, but harmless, a disconnect between brain and body during the transition to, or from REM sleep. Humans often reported sensing a malevolent presence, feeling pressure on their chest, and experiencing intense fear during episodes. It sounded exactly like what the FPS victims described after their recovery. Ellix needed to confirm his theory, but he couldn't do it alone. He needed someone with medical authority, and he knew just who to ask. Professor Nix was the Academy's leading xenophysiologist and one of the few faculty members who had actually spent time studying on Earth. When Ellix approached her office the next morning, he found her examining data on her holographic display. "Professor," Ellix began, "I need to discuss something important about the FPS cases." Nix turned slowly, her 4 eyes focusing on him with interest. "Ellix, I understand your concern, but I assure you the medical team is doing everything. I believe FPS might be equivalent to a human condition called sleep paralysis," Ellix interrupted, projecting the Terran medical article onto the professor's display. "The symptoms match perfectly." Nix's eyes narrowed as she scanned the information. "Sleep paralysis is not fatal in humans. Neither is FPS," Ellix insisted. "Every victim has recovered completely. What if we're not experiencing a deadly disease outbreak, but simply a sleep disorder that's unfamiliar to us?" The professor was silent for a long moment. "Your theory is interesting, but it doesn't explain why we're suddenly seeing so many cases." "I have a hypothesis about that too," Ellix said. 3 months ago, the Academy changed the lighting system to match Earth's day-night cycle more closely. It was part of the preparation program for students planning to study abroad on Earth. Nix's antennae twitched with interest. "Go on." "Velezians evolved with a completely different sleep cycle than humans. What if the new lighting is disrupting our natural rhythms and causing this sleep disorder?" "It's possible," Nix admitted, "but we need more evidence before we can challenge the current medical consensus." "Then let me gather it," Ellix urged. "I want to set up a monitoring station in one of the dormitories where FPS has occurred. If I can record a full episode from onset to recovery, we might be able to prove it's sleep paralysis and not some fatal disease." Nix considered for a moment. "Very well. But you'll need human expertise as well. As it happens, there's a human exchange professor arriving tomorrow, Dr. Logan Yeats, a sleep specialist from Earth. I'll arrange for you to work with him." Ellix felt a surge of excitement. A human expert could be exactly what they needed to solve this mystery. Dr. Logan Yeats arrived on the next shuttle from Earth. He was taller than Ellix had expected, with a head of dark hair and an expression of friendly curiosity as he took in his alien surroundings. Professor Nix made the introductions, explaining Ellix's theory about FPS being related to sleep paralysis. "That's a fascinating hypothesis, Doctor," Yeats said, adjusting his translator device. "Sleep paralysis can be extremely frightening for humans who don't understand what's happening. I can only imagine how terrifying it would be for your species if there's no cultural context for it." "The fear is making everything worse," Ellix explained. "Students are afraid to sleep, which only increases the likelihood of sleep disturbances." "Classic vicious cycle," Dr. Yeats nodded. "Let's set up monitoring equipment in the dormitories where these episodes have occurred most frequently." We'll need to track brain activity, muscle tension, and eye movement. With Professor Nix's authorization, they installed discrete monitoring devices in 3 dormitory units where FPS had been reported multiple times. The plan was to capture data during a natural occurrence, but they needed to wait for another episode to happen, something Ellix hoped wouldn't be necessary once they found the solution. While they waited, Dr. Yeats shared information about human sleep patterns and how they differed from Velesian rest cycles. Humans required a single long sleep period, whereas Velesians naturally took multiple short rest periods throughout their day. The Academy's adoption of an Earth-like schedule might be forcing your bodies into an unnatural sleep pattern, Dr. Yeats explained. That alone could trigger parasomnia's sleep disorders in susceptible individuals. They didn't have to wait long. That very night, the monitoring system alerted them to unusual brain activity in one of the dormitories. Ellix, Dr. Yeats, and Professor Nix rushed to find a student named Trill lying motionless on his sleeping platform, eyes wide with terror. "Don't call the medical team yet," Dr. Yeats instructed. "Let's gather data first." Ellix checked the monitors. Brain activity indicates he's conscious, but look at the muscle readings, complete atonia except for the eyes. Classic REM atonia extending into wakefulness, Dr. Yeats confirmed. This is textbook sleep paralysis. Trill's roommate was panicking. "He's dying. We need to get help." "He's not dying," Ellix assured him. "His condition is temporary. He'll come out of it on his own." Professor Nix approached the paralyzed student. "Trill, if you can hear me, try to remain calm. You're experiencing a sleep disorder that temporarily prevents movement. It will pass in a few minutes." 15 minutes later, Trill gasped and sat up, trembling violently. There was something pressing on me. I couldn't move. I thought I was dying." Dr. Yeats approached gently. "What you experienced is called sleep paralysis. It happens when your mind wakes up before your body does. The feeling of pressure and the sense of a threatening presence are common symptoms." Trill's antennae quivered. "But why couldn't anyone wake me?" "The other students who had FPS couldn't be awakened either." "That's part of the condition," Dr. Yeats explained. "Your brain temporarily disconnects from your muscles during REM sleep to prevent you from acting out your dreams. Sometimes, especially when sleep cycles are disrupted, consciousness returns before that connection is re-established." "So I wasn't dying?" Trill asked, still trembling. "No," Ellix said firmly. "And neither were any of the others diagnosed with FPS. What we've been calling Fatal Paralysis Syndrome is actually just sleep paralysis, scary but harmless." Professor Nix was reviewing the data they'd collected. "The readings matched Dr. Yeats' description perfectly. We need to report this to the headmaster immediately." The news spread quickly throughout the academy. Headmaster Vorn called an emergency assembly the next morning, where Professor Nix and Dr. Yeats presented their findings. The relief among the students was palpable as they learned that FPS wasn't fatal at all, but a temporary condition that many species experienced. "In light of this discovery," the headmaster announced, "we will be adjusting our lighting and scheduling systems to better accommodate Velesian physiology while still preparing students for interspecies interactions." After the assembly, students clustered around Dr. Yeats, eager to learn more about human sleep patterns and how to prevent sleep paralysis. "Regular sleep schedules are crucial," Dr. Yeats explained to the group. "Stress and sleep deprivation increase the likelihood of episodes. And knowing what's happening is half the battle. Fear makes the experience much worse." Ellix watched with satisfaction as the atmosphere in the academy transformed from terror to curiosity. Students who had experienced FPS were sharing their stories, no longer ashamed or frightened but interested in comparing their experiences. Later that day, Professor Nix called Ellix to her office. Dr. Yeats was there as well, along with Headmaster Vorn. "Your insight saved our academy from unnecessary panic," the headmaster said, "and potentially from closure. The Interspecies Medical Coalition has expressed interest in your research." Ellix's 3 hearts beat faster. "My research." "The correlation you identified between altered light cycles and sleep disorders in Velesians," Professor Nix explained. "It has implications for all interspecies medical facilities." "Dr. Yeats and I believe you would be an excellent candidate for an exchange program with Earth Central Medical Academy," the headmaster continued, "if you're interested." Ellix could hardly believe what he was hearing. Yes, of course I'm interested." "Excellent," Dr. Yeats said with a smile. "The program starts next semester. I think you'll find Earth's sleep research facilities quite impressive." In the weeks that followed, the Academy implemented new protocols based on Ellix and Dr. Yeats' recommendations. The lighting systems were recalibrated to provide a more gradual transition between day and night cycles. Students were given the option to follow a traditional Velesian rest schedule or adapt to the human pattern if they planned to travel to Earth. Most importantly, information about sleep paralysis was incorporated into the standard medical curriculum. Students learned that what they had feared as a deadly syndrome was actually a common experience across many species. Krell, one of the students who had experienced an episode, approached Ellix in the library one evening. "I wanted to thank you," he said. "I had another sleep paralysis episode last night, but this time I knew what it was. I didn't panic. I just waited for it to pass." "Did that make it easier?" Ellix asked. "Much easier," Krell confirmed. "When you understand what's happening, it's still uncomfortable, but it's not terrifying." As the end of the semester approached, Dr. Yeats prepared to return to Earth, but not before helping Ellix prepare for his upcoming exchange program. "The human students will be just as curious about Velesian sleep cycles as your classmates were about humans," Dr. Yeats told him. "Your experience here has put you in a unique position to bridge that knowledge gap." "I never expected my interest in xenobiology to lead me to sleep disorders," Ellix admitted, "but I'm grateful it did." "That's the beauty of science," Dr. Yeats said. "You follow the evidence where it leads, not where you expect it to go." On his final night at Velez Prime Academy, Ellix found himself unable to sleep. His mind was too active, thinking about the journey ahead and the discoveries yet to come. He decided to visit the observation deck, where the view of the stars always helped calm his thoughts. To his surprise, Mira was already there gazing out at the cosmos. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked as he joined her by the viewport. "Too much on my mind," Ellix replied. "What about you?" "I had a sleep paralysis episode earlier," she admitted. "First time." "It was strange, but not as scary as I thought it would be. I knew what was happening." Ellix nodded. "Knowledge makes all the difference. Your research is changing how we understand ourselves," Mira said. "That's a rare accomplishment for a student." "It was just a matter of looking beyond our own experience," Ellix said modestly. "Humans have been studying sleep paralysis for centuries." "But you were the one who made the connection," Mira insisted. "You're going to do great things on Earth." As they stood there watching the stars, Ellix thought about how far they'd come from the panic of just a few weeks ago. What had seemed like a deadly plague was now understood as a normal, if unsettling, physiological phenomenon. Students who had once feared for their lives now had the tools to understand what was happening to them. The next morning, Ellix joined Dr. Yeats on the shuttle platform. The human professor would be returning to Earth ahead of him to prepare for Ellix's arrival at the medical academy. "Ready for your new adventure?" Dr. Yeats asked. "I think so," Ellix replied, "though I might need some time to adjust to Earth's gravity and day-night cycle." "Just remember your own research," Dr. Yeats said with a smile. "Gradual adaptation is key. We don't want you experiencing sleep paralysis on your first night." "That would be ironic," Ellix agreed. As Dr. Yeats boarded the shuttle, Ellix felt a new sense of purpose. What had begun as a mystery threatening to close down his beloved academy had become the launching point for his career. He had faced fear with curiosity and had been rewarded with understanding. In the months that followed, Ellix completed his final semester at Velez Prime with honors. His research paper on interspecies sleep disorders was published in the Interstellar Medical Journal, bringing attention to the importance of considering evolutionary sleep patterns when different species lived and worked together. When he finally arrived on Earth the following semester, Ellix was surprised by how many humans approached him with questions about their own experiences with sleep paralysis. "I've had it since I was a teenager," one medical student confessed. "The first time, I thought I was being abducted by aliens, no offense." Ellix laughed. "None taken. Though I find it amusing that humans fear alien abduction during sleep paralysis while we fear death. Every culture interprets the experience through its own lens," his new classmate explained. "In some human cultures, people believe it's caused by demons or spirits." This cultural perspective fascinated Ellix. He began collecting stories from various species about how they interpreted sleep paralysis before the scientific explanation was understood. The project expanded beyond medicine into cultural anthropology, earning him recognition from professors in multiple departments. One evening, while working late in the Earth Academy's research lab, Ellix received a communication from Professor Nix. "Your work has inspired a complete revamp of our interspecies medical training," she told him. "We're now teaching students about various sleep disorders from the beginning, rather than treating them as rare conditions." "Has there been a decrease in sleep paralysis cases?" Ellix asked. "Significantly," Nix confirmed. "Once we adjusted the lighting systems and allowed for more natural Velesian rest cycles, episodes became much rarer. And when they do occur, students know what's happening and don't panic." "That's exactly what we hoped for," Ellix said, feeling a wave of satisfaction. "There's more," Nix continued. "The Interspecies Medical Coalition is establishing a dedicated sleep research center, and they've asked me to recommend a lead researcher once you complete your studies on Earth." Ellix could hardly believe what he was hearing. "Are you suggesting you're the obvious choice, Ellix? Your work has already changed how we approach interspecies medicine. With proper resources, imagine what else you might discover." After ending the communication, Ellix sat back in his chair, overwhelmed by how far a simple observation had taken him. What had begun as a desperate attempt to save his academy had evolved into a promising career at the forefront of interspecies medical research. The following week, Logan Yeats invited Ellix to dinner at his home, a small apartment near the academy. It was Ellix's first time in a human dwelling, and he was fascinated by the differences from Velesian living spaces, particularly the single large bed that dominated the bedroom. "Still adjusting to our sleep schedule?" Logan asked as they ate. "Better than expected," Ellix replied, "though I still find it strange to sleep all at once instead of in cycles." "Evolution shapes our most basic functions," Logan said. "Even when we understand the science, our bodies still follow ancient patterns." "Speaking of which," Ellix hesitated, "I've been invited to lead a new sleep research center after graduation." Logan's face lit up. That's fantastic news. Though I must admit, I was hoping to recruit you for our research team here. Actually, Ellix said, I was wondering if you might be interested in a joint position. Your expertise in human sleep disorders would be invaluable, and the center is meant to be truly interspecies in its approach. A chance to study sleep patterns across multiple sentient species, Logan considered. That's an opportunity too good to pass up. Count me in. As they continued their meal, they discussed the possibilities ahead: new treatments for interspecies sleep disorders, preventative measures for those traveling between worlds, and deeper understanding of how consciousness manifested across different evolutionary paths. By the time Ellix completed his exchange program on Earth, the new Interspecies Sleep Research Center was already under construction in a neutral zone between Earth and Velez Prime. The facility was designed to accommodate researchers from 12 different sentient species, with environmental controls that could be adjusted for each species' natural rhythms. The day before Ellix was scheduled to leave Earth, Logan took him to a human sleep lab to witness something remarkable: a voluntary sleep paralysis episode. A human researcher who could reliably enter the state had agreed to be monitored while demonstrating the phenomenon. She can induce sleep paralysis at will, Logan explained. It's extremely rare, but she's learned to control the transition between sleep states. They watched as the researcher lay down and entered a meditative state. Within minutes, the monitors showed she had entered REM sleep while maintaining a level of consciousness. When she opened her eyes, she was completely paralyzed, a perfect demonstration of what had once terrified the students of Velez Prime Academy. After several minutes, she recovered control of her muscles and sat up. That was remarkable, Ellix said. Were you afraid? The first few hundred times, yes, she admitted. Now it's just interesting. I've learned to observe the experience rather than fight it. That's exactly what we're trying to teach, Logan said. Understanding replaces fear. On his final day on Earth, Ellix visited the Natural History Museum, where a new exhibition on sleep across species had been installed. He was stunned to find a section dedicated to the Velez Prime discovery that included his name and research. Your work changed how we understand interspecies medical care, the curator explained when Ellix identified himself. Before your discovery, we designed facilities based primarily on atmospheric needs. Now, we consider circadian rhythms and sleep requirements as essential components of any interspecies environment. As Ellix prepared to board the transport that would take him to his new position, he received one final message from Headmaster Vorn. What began as a crisis has become our greatest opportunity for advancement. Your curiosity turned fear into understanding. There is no greater achievement in education. Looking out the viewport as Earth grew smaller behind him, Ellix reflected on the journey that had brought him here. A mysterious condition that had terrified his entire academy had turned out to be a universal experience, uncomfortable but harmless, frightening only because it was not understood. In the years that followed, the Interspecies Sleep Research Center became a model for collaborative science. Researchers from dozens of worlds studied how different species experienced consciousness, rest, and the transitions between them. The knowledge they developed improved life for travelers, colonists, and students throughout known space. And on Velez Prime Academy, a new generation of students learned about sleep paralysis, not as a terrifying syndrome, but as a fascinating quirk of neurology, a reminder that even in the vast diversity of sentient life, certain experiences were shared across the stars. What had once been thought fatal was now understood as merely an unsettling but temporary disconnect between mind and body. a reminder of the complex relationship between consciousness and physical form that all thinking beings navigated in their own way. Ellix never experienced sleep paralysis himself, but he came to appreciate the unique perspective it offered to those who did a brief glimpse into the fragile connection between thought and action, mind and matter. In the end, what had seemed like a curse had become a gateway to greater understanding, not just of sleep, but of consciousness itself, the final frontier that all sentient beings, regardless of their origin among the stars, explored each time they closed their eyes and surrendered to rest.